I felt the moment she said it. That little practice pause before open relationship. Click into place like the last tumbler in a lock she didn't know I was already picking. I'm 35. I've spent my whole life in construction, started swinging a hammer the summer after high school, and worked my way up from there. I don't sit in an air-conditioned office. I don't have a job title with a slash in it. I build things with my hands, things that stand on their own long after I've gone home. You'd be amazed how many people respect that, right up until they start shopping for something shinier. I was married 3 years. Jennifer, 30, worked in PR. She got paid to sit in meetings and argue about vibes. I used to joke that I got paid to sweat and she got paid to write emails with emojis in them. For a while it worked. We had a rhythm. Shared dinners, weekend errands, the ordinary machinery of two people building a life. We weren't fighting. We weren't drifting. Which is exactly why what came out of her mouth after that girls' trip landed like a dropped wrench in a quiet room. She'd gone to Dallas for a weekend. Shopping, spa, overpriced drinks, the usual. Her best friend Evelyn went too. Evelyn, for the record, was the one normal person in that circle. A woman who behaved like a human being instead of a reality show contestant. But Jennifer came back different. Not tired, not hungover. Cold, distant, drifting out of conversations mid-sentence, glued to her phone and smiling at it like the messages were doing stand-up. Looking back, it started months before Dallas, when she began orbiting her friend Brittany. Brittany, whose longest committed relationship was with her hairdresser, had appointed herself prophet of keeping your options open, and relationships shouldn't be cages. Jennifer started doing weekly dinners with her, coming home far too late for someone supposedly having deep conversations, arriving either too bright or too snappish, like she was rehearsing a lie until it fit. I told myself it was a phase. Brittany was out there giving TED Talks on how to torch your own marriage and calling it self-care, and my wife was in the front row taking notes. Then Tuesday night, in the kitchen, I'm scrambling eggs. She's standing there watching me like I'm about to drop her favorite mug. And she says it, light as switching laundry detergent. I think we should try an open relationship. I laughed and kept stirring. She didn't laugh. I turned around, and there it was, the calm, rehearsed face of a woman who'd practiced this speech in the mirror. Wait, what? She repeated it in the exact same tone. I just think it could be good for us. It's not a big deal. Lots of couples do it. Right, sure. Like it was the new meal prep. Like she'd found it on Pinterest somewhere between smoothie bowls and 100 ways to reignite your marriage. I just stared at her, trying to work out which version of my wife I was talking to. Because the Jennifer I married once told me, dead serious, that if I ever cheated she'd walk without blinking. And now that same woman was standing in my kitchen, proposing we simply schedule the cheating instead. I leaned back against the counter. Where's this coming from? The shrug. The "this is just how I feel right now" shrug. I've been reading about it. Brittany's in one. She says it changed her life. And there she was, Brittany. Of course. I didn't say a word, I flipped the eggs. Jennifer kept going, growing as individuals, learning about ourselves, still choosing each other but without all the restrictions, you know? Oh, I knew. Nothing enriches a marriage like leaving the door open so strangers can wander in and get comfortable. Here's the thing though. I wasn't shocked. I was disappointed. Not that she'd had the thought. People try all kinds of things. I was disappointed she hadn't asked. She'd just decided this was the next step and dropped it on me expecting applause. Expecting me to say, wow, how brave. So I slid a plate of eggs in front of her and said nothing. And just like that, she stopped being my wife and became a woman I didn't recognize. I didn't yell, I didn't flip the pan. But my gut was already talking. And my gut said this wasn't idle curiosity. This was long planned. Maybe already in motion. Brittany had just poured gasoline on a fire that was already lit. So the next day, instead of saying no, I said okay. Sure. Let's try it. Her whole face lit up like I'd handed her front row Beyoncé tickets. Really? You're open to it? If it makes you happy. And I swear that night she practically floated around the house, giddy, effervescent, like a kid who'd just been ungrounded. I kept my face flat and easy. But inside, I was already flipping switches, one by one. Because here's what I've always known. Give people enough rope and enough silence, and they'll tell on themselves. And Jennifer? Jennifer was warming up to sing. Next morning she's texting non-stop, leaving the house constantly, new clothes. Perfume that cost more than my power tools. Coffee with a friend. Out with the girls. Same lines on rotation. She figured I hadn't noticed. I noticed everything. I just didn't react. No questions, no anger, no confrontation. I went to work, did my job, and played the man who couldn't see through glass. Because it was easier to stay quiet while she dug, and I could already see she wasn't just thinking about an open marriage. She was way past thinking. She didn't want a partner. She wanted a safety net, while she auditioned an upgrade. And I was getting ready to cut the rope. Then my sister Nora called. Nora's 2 years younger than me and doesn't sugarcoat a single thing in this life. If my haircut's bad, she says so. If my truck smells like gym socks, she'll tell me before she's even buckled in. So when she texted, "Can we talk?" It's about Jennifer. I told her to come by, expecting vague advice I'd already given myself. Nora doesn't do vague. She walked in like a sledgehammer, sat down, and said it flat. "Leo, I know you think you're handling this open relationship thing like a champ. But Jennifer's already cheating on you." That got my attention. "How do you know?" She pulled out her phone. A screenshot of a group chat with a girl who used to run with Jennifer's crowd. And there it was, in Jennifer's own words. She'd met someone on the trip. Someone with potential. A tech CEO. Fancy car, networking trips, 3 pairs of glasses each worth more than my truck. She'd been talking to him before the girls' weekend. I let the screenshots load slow, one line at a time, savoring the confirmation of everything my gut had been screaming. And then the line that did it: "If I play this right, I won't have to worry about money again." My wife. Talking about a man like a scratch-off ticket. I sat with it a second. Not because I doubted it, I'd felt it coming for weeks. But seeing it in black and white, it wasn't rage anymore. It went cold, clean and cold. Nora said I wasn't going to say anything at first. But watching you let her walk all over you made me sick. I appreciated that more than she knew. I told her to keep it to herself. I wasn't ready to move, not publicly, not yet. Because when somebody's showing you exactly who they are, the smart play is to let them keep performing. Let them get comfortable. Let them think they're winning. It makes the ending so much easier to build. The open relationship pitch was never about honesty. It was a permission slip. Jennifer wanted to sleep her way into a bigger tax bracket without wearing the villain's hat. Freedom, no consequences. And me? I was supposed to shuffle around confused, maybe see a woman or two, and either fade out quietly or wait for her to pick. Cute plan. So I started paying attention to Evelyn. Let me be clear about something, because it matters. Nothing happened with Evelyn during any of this. Not a thing. She's not the type to throw herself at anyone. She's sharp, she carries herself well, and she knew the situation was a mess, so she kept a respectful distance. But after the reveal, I found myself replaying old footage. The way she'd looked at me last year while I was fixing the porch railing. How she stayed behind to help clean up after Jennifer's birthday dinner. How she never flinched or gossiped when things between Jennifer and me went tense. Then she texted me, "Hey, how are you holding up?" I didn't know what to say. I went with, "Still breathing. You don't deserve to be treated like this. I've seen what's going on. You deserve way better." That one landed somewhere different. She was the first person to just name it. Everyone else had tiptoed around the truth like it was wet paint. Evelyn walked right up and called it, and something in me shifted. I wasn't just the guy trying to stay cool anymore. I was a man with a plan. Not for revenge exactly. I just refused to let someone loot and torch everything I'd built while she browsed for a replacement. And yes, I did something next. I didn't have to do anything shady though. That's the beautiful part. I just started letting Evelyn into the frame a little more, naturally. It began small. She stopped by for a jacket she'd left. I offered coffee. She said sure. 20 minutes of easy conversation. Work, life, how tired she was of the constant chaos Jennifer trailed behind her like exhaust. She craves the drama, Evelyn said, and then gets furious when it gets messy. I said, yeah. Welcome to my world. After that, I barely had to try. Evelyn started coming around more, dropping something off, chatting while I worked on the truck in the driveway. She'd hand me tools, hold the flashlight, ask what a part actually did. Most people would rather watch paint dry than watch a man wrestle rusty bolts. Evelyn actually listened, and Jennifer started to notice. One night, half asleep, she floated it out casually. "You've been spending a lot of time with Evelyn lately. I didn't even look up from lacing my boots for the morning." "Why does that bother you?" The little unconvincing shrug. "No, I'm just saying." I smiled into the dark. Good. 'Cause I wasn't asking. The next day she went full detective, the kind without a warrant but desperately wanting one. Was Evelyn here again? Did she say anything about me? Why is she texting you so much? I played dumb. Said she'd stop by, borrowed the drill, which was true. Evelyn had borrowed my drill exactly once. Whether she used it or just wanted to watch Jennifer's blood pressure climb, I'll never know. Either way, mission accomplished. Then came the part I'd been waiting for. Jennifer dropped the CEO. Said he got too intense, said she wanted space, and suddenly she was reattaching herself to me like nothing had happened. Cooking dinners. Calling me babe again, like the word was an eraser. I came home from a supply run one night to find candlelight, a spread, the whole production. I walked in. Somebody's birthday? Big smile. No, I just thought it'd be nice for us to spend some time together, like old times. Before she tried to auction off our marriage to a man who probably wears a cologne called liquidity, I sat down. I ate quietly. And then, slow, easy, letting it hang in the air, I said, Evelyn mentioned you make a good mushroom risotto. She froze. Her whole face short-circuited, every muscle glitching at once. You talked to Evelyn about this? Yeah. She said she used to help you with the recipe. Jennifer forced a smile so hard I thought a cheek might snap clean off. After that dinner, it only got worse for her. She started hovering, trailing me room to room, cataloging who I texted and whether Evelyn had said anything new. Finally, I told her, you should stop creeping around the kitchen like you're auditioning for a thriller. She did not enjoy that. But here's what actually worked. One weekend I had Evelyn over to help with the back fence. Jennifer stayed inside pretending to read a book she hadn't cracked since we bought it as a shelf prop. Evelyn and I were out back working, laughing. She ribbed me for measuring twice and still cutting wrong. I fired back something about her tiny hands being useless on power tools. It was the most natural I'd felt in months. I glanced up, and there was Jennifer, frozen at the window, staring through the glass like an extra in a horror movie. I waved. She ducked. That night, she reached for the guilt trip. I just feel like you're pushing me away. You literally asked me to be okay with you dating someone else. That's not pushing. That's me handing you the runway. But you never wanted to do it. You just said yes to trap me. No, I said. I said yes because I wanted to see how fast you'd crawl to someone else. Turned out to be faster than Prime shipping. She stormed off. Next day, Evelyn texted. She called me this morning. Wanted to talk. She's losing it. Good, I wrote back. Let her. She asked for openness. She's about to find out what locked doors feel like. Jennifer thought she held all the cards. She figured I was too dumb, too passive, too loyal to do anything but wait. She never once considered that I'd already poured the foundation. And after that, Evelyn and I stopped just talking. Something had turned over between us. I could feel it, and I'm certain she could too. Nothing forced, nothing rushed. It just made sense. So I invited her to dinner, at my place, and she showed up with homemade lasagna. Full layers, crisp on top, smelling like the definition of comfort. We sat at the kitchen table, plates loaded, laughing about nothing. Two people who'd been through enough to earn one quiet evening. Halfway through, I looked at her and said, I don't want to play games anymore. She set down her fork like she'd been waiting all night for exactly that sentence. Neither do I. A beat of silence, the kind where the whole room slows down. Then, I should probably tell you something. I raised an eyebrow. She smiled, not smug, just finally done holding it in. I've always liked you, Leo. Even back when you and Jennifer first got together. I never said anything, because you were taken, and I don't mess with taken. But I watched how you treated her, how steady you were. The way you build things, not just with your hands, but with your loyalty. And I always wondered what it'd be like if someone like you picked me. I let it sit a second. Not from surprise, just because honesty had gotten so rare I wanted to feel it land. Then I looked at her and said, well, I'm picking you now. No more guessing. She held my eyes. So we're doing this? Yeah, she said, no hesitation. We're doing this? That was it. No games, no strange conditions, no emotional gymnastics. Just real talk, real food, and a woman who treated me like the prize instead of the stepping stone. The next evening, still in dusty boots, I came home to find Jennifer on the couch, thumbing through her phone like she was scouting her next reality show. Evelyn was 15 minutes out, and I decided I was done circling the runway. I sat down casual, like I was about to ask what's for dinner. Jennifer, heads up. Me and Evelyn are together now. Official. She stopped mid-scroll. You're kidding. Nope. With Evelyn? My best friend? I nodded. Well, you gave up exclusivity, remember? I'm just doing what you encouraged. Exploring. She shot up so fast the couch probably needed therapy. You're disgusting. I can't believe you'd do this to me, with her. What kind of man? I cut in, cool and level. The kind of man who gave his wife the chance to be honest. Who stood by her while she chased a CEO like our marriage was her backup plan. You didn't just leave the door open, Jennifer. You kicked it off the hinges. She paced. She yelled. Every insult she could reach for. Evelyn's a fake, I'm a traitor, we conspired behind her back. Then, mid-tantrum, the pivot. I've been thinking, and I don't want an open relationship anymore. I want to go back to how things were. Like it was a light switch. Oops, my mistake. Let's rewind past the part where I tried to sleep my way into an upgrade. I looked at her a long moment and let the silence do the heavy lifting. Then, dead in the eye, yeah, I've been thinking too. And I want you to start packing. I have never seen a person blink so fast they appeared to be buffering. You're not serious. Oh, I'm serious. Expect divorce papers? She staggered back a full step like she'd just learned the earth wasn't flat. You're divorcing me? Like I was the first one to step out? No, Jennifer, clear and sharp. I'm divorcing the version of you that forgot what commitment meant. The version that thought love was something you trade up from when someone flashier walks by. The version that dumped loyalty in the trash the second it stopped being fun. She opened her mouth. I kept going. You wanted options. You explored them. And now that the guy with the Tesla stopped calling, suddenly you remember I exist. You don't miss me, Jennifer. You miss the guy who stayed when you didn't deserve it? You wanted freedom? Congratulations. You're free. Free from this marriage. Free from this house. Free from pretending you didn't know exactly what you were doing. She went quiet for a solid 30 seconds. Arms crossed, visibly cycling through angles she hadn't tried yet. Then, in the smallest, most pitiful voice I've ever heard, can't we at least talk about this? I leaned in, voice soft, words plain as daylight. We did talk about it. Back when you asked to turn our marriage into a group project and decided I didn't matter. So now I'm just agreeing with you. I walked past her. Easy, nothing thrown, nothing raised. There's your real conversation, Jennifer. Start packing before I get back. And don't try the sympathy angle. You left that behind with your dignity the day you picked a CEO over your husband. She stood there shaking, furious, humiliated, lost, all of it at once. Then she stormed out and slammed the door. By the time I got back, she was gone. Evelyn arrived and I told her everything. She didn't flinch, just nodded. She was never going to handle this well. She's not used to losing. We sat on the back porch and ate leftovers straight from the dish with forks. Classy? No. Satisfying? More than I can say. The circus opened the next morning, 12 missed calls before 8. 2 voicemails that started with, "Can we talk?" and ended with, "You're a snake." Then the texting binge. "You're throwing everything away. You're being cruel. You'll regret this." And my personal favorite, Evelyn was never your friend. I didn't answer a single one. Not for lack of words, I had plenty. But I understood that the surest way to make her feel powerless was to let her scream into an empty room. Meanwhile, I sat down with my lawyer. Future Reddit husbands, hear me. Before you marry, get a prenup. Not because you expect the worst, but because if it comes, and your wife decides your marriage was a temporary contract, you get to sit in a chair sipping coffee while your lawyer flips pages and says, she doesn't get a dime. Not one damn dime. He looked up, half smirking. You kept the original signatures, hard copies and scanned. Safety deposit box. He leaned back. You, my friend, are my new favorite client. He read the clauses aloud just to twist the knife. All income from premarital business entities remains separate and immune to division. He glanced up. That includes the shop and the 2 rentals. Everything, even the lawnmowers. He laughed. Man showed up with receipts and weed whackers. Jennifer was entitled to exactly what was in her personal checking account, and whatever she carried out the door. No spousal support, no half of anything. Not even the dog, and she didn't want the dog anyway. Called me too clingy over a pet. He slid the papers across the desk, I signed that same day, and we couriered them to the high-rise rental she'd moved into like she was starting a glamorous new chapter. She called the second she was served. Are you serious? 1 line back. Dead serious. You opened the door. I'm just closing it behind you. I didn't know what was in the prenup. Not my fault. Silence after that. But you know who did hear from her? Evelyn. Because Jennifer can't take a loss quietly. Silence isn't in her toolkit. She showed up at Evelyn's apartment uninvited, knocking like she meant to break the thing down. No warning, no text, just fury and heels. Evelyn opened the door calm, as if she were expecting a package. Jennifer swept in full drama class. You betrayed me. How could you do this to me? Evelyn didn't flinch. She stood there, hand on the door, weighing whether to listen or just let Jennifer yell at the wood. Then, quiet and direct, you wrecked your own marriage. I just decided I wasn't going to clean up the mess for you. You gave up the job, now you're mad someone else applied. Jennifer stood frozen, maybe waiting for an apology, a softening, anything. Instead, Evelyn met her eyes. If this is what you came for, you can leave the same way you came in. Alone, and she shut the door. While Jennifer ran her one-woman pity parade, I tightened bolts. Moved every joint subscription into my name. Cut her off from anything still tied to my accounts. Changed every password like a hacker with something to prove. Then I cleaned the house. Not just the dust, the memory. Took down the old photos. Donated the wedding decor she refused to take. Tossed the skincare graveyard she'd left behind. And just like that, she was gone. No alimony, no assets, no leverage left to swing. Evelyn asked once if I was okay, if I felt sick over any of it. I told her no. I felt like I'd walked out of a burning building and found someone standing there with water. When the divorce went final, the confirmation call lifted a ton of brick off my back. I stood in the middle of my kitchen in my work boots and just smiled. Not angry, not sad. Done. Life wasn't perfect, but it was finally mine. I could have ended it there. But Jennifer was never one to leave a scene without one last mess. It was Nora's birthday. Backyard barbecue. Simple, close friends, family. Food I cooked myself instead of the pricey caterers Jennifer used to push. Evelyn helped with the decorations. Nora brought her famous potato salad. My cousin Jason was already 3 burgers deep. Good energy all around. Then, from inside, Leo? Someone's at the front gate. I went to look, and there she was. Jennifer. Standing at the edge of the yard like she was returning from exile. Hair done, heels on, giant sunglasses like she was dodging paparazzi, and a gift bag. A literal gift bag, probably stuffed with shame and confusion. Everyone went still. Even the dog shut up. I walked over calm. I wasn't angry. I was amused. Jennifer? You're not invited. She tried to smile. I just wanted to say hi, maybe talk. Not the time, not the place. Not the guest list. Off came the sunglasses, and she launched into the script. I've been thinking a lot, and I want to give our marriage another chance. I made a mistake, I nodded. Yeah. We all saw that one coming. She pushed on. I didn't realize what I had until it was gone. And seeing you with Evelyn isn't your business anymore. People were watching now. Nora crossed her arms from across the yard. Jennifer glanced around, like she'd just registered she wasn't the main character anymore. Can we at least talk in private? I shook my head. Nope. Whatever you came to say, save it. You had months. You had chances. You picked someone else. And now you're here because he dumped you and I didn't. She went quiet, really quiet. Then, so you're just replacing me? Like it's that easy? I leaned in and said it loud enough for the whole yard. You replaced yourself the second you gave me permission to stop being your priority. She scrambled to save face. This isn't over. You can't erase everything we had. I laughed. Jennifer, you erased it. I just swept up the pieces and handed you the broom. Her mouth opened like she was about to detonate. But Evelyn walked over, calm, steady, said nothing at first, just stood next to me. That alone was enough. Jennifer stared at her, waiting for some grand confrontation. Evelyn just tilted her head and said, simple as anything, you were his past. I'm his present and his future. So you can go now. Jennifer stood there one more beat, waiting for someone, anyone, to take her side. Nobody moved. And she turned and walked straight back out the gate she'd come through, gift bag still in hand. A minute later the music came back on. Nora handed me another burger like nothing had happened. Happy birthday to me, she said, breezing past. Evelyn and I sat down and she just looked at me. That felt good, I told her. It felt better than winning the lottery. So that's the story. Jennifer wanted options. She took them. Then she learned the hard way that love doesn't come with a backup generator. She assumed I was weak enough to sit and wait. She was wrong. I didn't just survive it, I built something better, with someone who was never once a stepping stone. And if you're reading this thinking maybe I should give them another chance, don't. Let them go be someone else's disaster. You've got better things waiting on the other side of the gate. For the record, Evelyn makes far better lasagna.